Can a narcissist change? This is one of the most common questions I see, but I believe it is not only useless, it is actually positively counterproductive. In this video, I want to deconstruct this question, so hopefully you stop asking it to yourself, but replace it with two much more valid questions that will help you think more clearly. The real question we want to understand is, why don't they change? And the answer to that is simply, well, why would they even change in the first place? So the question, can they change, is unhelpful for a very simple reason. This uses a simplistic framework. The framework basically says, is it possible for them to change? In other words, if you think of a scale between 0 and 100, is the probability of them changing anywhere above 0%? And the answer is pretty much, well, yes. If they wanted to change, then they would change. So it is possible. But if we observe reality, and reality is really what matters, there's no point arguing about things if reality doesn't agree with us. In reality, we don't see narcissists changing. Or if we do, it's unbelievably seldom. If you know of, let's say, 100 narcissists, how many do you bet would change over the course of an entire lifetime? In my observation, it probably is close to 0%. Clearly below 50, probably below 10, maybe somewhere around 1 or 2 maximum, but it's much more likely to be around 0%. So if you have a close to 0% probability of something happening, there's not much point asking this theoretical question, is it possible? In a recent humorous video, I suggested there is a pill that can help cure narcissists. There are no side effects, so all you have to do is take it to be on the safe side. And the only people taking it are the non-narcissists, because we think, well, on the off chance I am toxic, I'd like to reduce my toxicity because it's better for everyone. But the people refusing to take it are the narcissists, who feel offended that people might suggest that something can be even improved with them. So if we put aside this question of can they change, let's try to understand why they don't. And the answer to that is, well, why should they change? If we think of life as a system that has some kind of balance, there's you, there are other people, everybody's system usually works well enough for them. And if it doesn't work, people are willing to make some kind of change. That's what we see in systemic therapy. We work with a person who comes to consult with a therapist, because the person who consults with a therapist is the person who has a problem with the situation. The other people, however toxic their behavior might be, however self-destructive it might be, however abusive it might be, these people are okay with the situation, so they have no incentive for it to change. However, the person coming to see the therapist, something isn't working out for them, so that is where we do the work. Now, we could assume that narcissists have a problem because in their situation they have advantages and disadvantages, and they complain a lot about the disadvantages. One of the reframes I use with my clients is to suggest that maybe the disadvantages are actually an advantage. They are okay with the price they're paying, they get to complain about it, and because they complain about it, they're able to shift their disadvantages to someone else for someone else to take care of. And in return, they get pity and attention and often money and support and everything they could possibly want. What usually happens is that as they go along, they exhaust the people around them. The people around them just get fed up of putting up with all of this nonsense, and it's too costly and it's unhealthy. So they start asking for changes. If you ask for a change from a narcissist, you have two outcomes. The first outcome is the least likely. It's that they accept. They accept to change something. However, nothing is for free. If they accept to change something, instead of giving you gratitude for the valuable feedback and helping them improve, you are likely to be met with revenge. They will make you pay for it, somehow. So if you have a conversation and you believe there's some form of closure, expect some form of revenge and resentment to come out. You don't know why suddenly you had a fight with the worst possible timing? Well, maybe they made a concession and they're making you pay for it. Look back to the various fights you've had and see if you can tie them into any concessions they've made to you. Possibly you will see there's a correlation. Concession, fight. Concession, problem. And that's one of the ways they operate. They try to remind you that trying to make them do anything is something that you will pay for very dearly. So the first option is they give you what you want. The other option is that they don't give you what you want. because they are incredibly lazy. So if they can't get what they want from you, well, the world is a big place. There are many other people out there. It's less effort for them to go and find someone else and just eject you than it is to change themselves. Why would they want to change themselves? They like the situation where they get to complain, someone gives them what they want. If you no longer want to play that role, well, there's a vacancy and they can easily find someone else to replace you. It can be difficult for us to imagine that when someone tells us that they love us and they care about us and that we are friends or that we're in a relationship, we don't expect to be on the ejectable seat that easily. But something to think about is some people lie. Not everyone tells the truth. So have you had any occurrences where this person misled you? Where they confused the truth a bit? Where they were not really clear? Where you discovered that they hid information from you, or they allowed you to believe something that turned out to be very different to what you'd understood was reality? If this is the way they operate, why be surprised if they're telling you exactly what you want to hear so that they can get whatever they want from you? If this is part of their normal behavior and their pattern, where is the surprise? We can be disappointed, I understand it. We can be hurt, I understand that. We can be upset, I understand that. But really, should we be surprised if people act the way they always act? Remember that if you introduce friction into a system which works perfectly for them, they get to complain, someone solves their problems. You no longer want to be that person? Fine, they'll find someone else who will be willing to be that person for as long as they can put up with it. The mistake we make is we assume we know what is at stake. And for us, what is at stake is the potential future together, the promises, the things we imagined because they told us to imagine that. But that is simply a trick of a conman. That is the trick of the person who says, imagine that you gamble away $100 and you come back with $100 million. How would you spend that money? Tell me about it. Tell me about the house you'd build. Tell me about the trips you do. Tell me about the hospitals and schools you would open. Tell me about it. Let's really have this vision. You get into that vision. And then when the person takes your $100 and disappears, it becomes very painful to not only admit that you lost that vision, but also that you lost $100 and you were too naive and you allowed it to happen to you. This is the way they function. They make these promises because it hooks us, but they have no intention to deliver on any of this. We assume they do because, well, wouldn't it be nice if they did? But when we look at reality, they don't do it. Yet we are surprised. So I would suggest take a step back and ask yourself, what specifically was not working for them? Once you understand what was not working for them, there's a possibility that this will simply be your complaints. So if you are the one complaining and they view you as being an obstacle to getting what they want, well, they can either put more pressure on you to see if that works to make you change your mind. That's usually what they do by being unpleasant and abusive and attacking your self-worth, and they try to break you down. Or they go and look for someone else. And once they've broken you down anyway, then, well, you can't give them what they want anyway, so then you're going to be discarded and they'll go and find someone else anyway. And why don't they change? Well, maybe simply because they enjoy this dynamic. Maybe you want to be in a relationship with someone like that, but maybe life's a bit too short for that. How did you deal with this question? Can they change? Are you still asking yourself the question? Were you able to move on? What worked for you? I'm sharing here the tips that work for me that I use with my clients, but maybe you've got other tips to share that people who read the comments will really benefit from. So if you'd like to share that, then I'd be really grateful. So if you found this video helpful, then of course the like button, the notification bell and subscribe button are very good ways to help this channel grow. Thank you for watching.